So today I want to talk about the K1 Max and some improvements that you can make with it. Also some warnings in case you want to buy one, but I think most of the things I'm gonna say you already know when you start to look at reviews, things like that. But for me personally, there are kind of two main issues, let's say, with this printer. I don't know out the top of my head how it is called. I will put it below how the term is called, but there's a little bit of a vibration going on when it's printing. This was done when I was really messing up my input shape, so it's worse than it should be, but it shows you what I'm talking about, hopefully with the light. Since it is black, but you will see lines, and it is just awful to look at. And when you want to make technical parts, it's just useless basically, because you need to send it away. Also, when it's for show, it doesn't look nice. So that was my main concern that I kind of want to fix. You can also see it in this buffer tube, especially with round shapes, cylinder shapes. Especially with cylinder shapes, you can see all those lines, and that should be just more like this. At this point it did not do it because this shape is introduced, but when it was just round you will see all those lines, and it's just awful. It doesn't look nice. But the good news is with that one is, if you export your file in a higher quality size, let's say, so choose more of the triangles to form the shape, you can get rid of it. So I cannot get rid of it, let's say, mechanically out of the printer, but when you are making the parts yourself and you are exporting your STL files in a high quality file, let's say, then the round shapes will be smooth again, because I did not sand this, and you can see some lines like this, but it is a separate issue sometimes with temperatures and things like that and new print materials. But at least that really strange pattern is gone, and I've done this for, let's say, a year or maybe a small year, and it's gone. So that was something that I wanted to make a video about quite some time ago, because I think it will help out some people. Of course, I do know when you're downloading files for somebody else, you don't know if it will make this issue go up and show or not. Normally I export my files from FreeCAD in the normal way, it's the more easy way. And on my Ender 3 Pro it was always fine, never had this issue. But when I do that exporting on this printer, the same file, then I would get those lines. So that's what I want to let you know, like for some reason, and when you take a close look at your STL file and the slice, you will see a little bit of it's not perfectly round, it gets a little bit more like polygons. It's a little bit angular, let's say, and you see that the way how this printer works, it doesn't really smooth it out, it makes it worse, and that's something that you don't want. You want to kind of smooth those little bit of pixelation, let's say, out, but instead it makes it worse. It goes deeper inside of those gaps, let's say, instead of smoothing the round shape out. So okay, besides maybe vibrations, things going on, that is at least my kind of understanding that at least that's one way to fix it. So if you have control about exporting an STL file, that can be an easy fix for you. Of course it would be nice if the printer does not do it. I understand that, of course, but it is at least a fix. If you have control about those type of files you can export. Then the next thing, of course, is the bed level of the printer itself. When I bought mine, it was angled down, let's say, or backwards, At least it was tilted. And I will put the links below to some spacers you can use, and then you can bring your bed back to level. Takes some time to do, but it works really great for me. It was really helpful. But then I had one accident, because when I was doing the leveling, everything was fine. There was a little bit of, it was not perfectly flat, but I thought I will show some pictures if I can find them back how I could level it, and it worked pretty fine. But then one day I was printing TPU, and I must have really taken a good look. There was basically like a string of filament like this, and it made its way inside of this place right here where the print bed meets the rod and gets in between there. So let's imagine there was a TPU filament. It made its way in between the rod and let's say this nut, let's say, and it would just fully lock up. And I heard really, like, you could hear the belt skipping because it could not be moved at all. It was also really hard to remove it out of there. But what that did for me, because since then I could never level this bed again, because it must have put, even though you would imagine that this frame below would kind of prevent that, but for some reason they did kind of warp my bed. At least that's the impression that I got. Since then, at least, I could never get my bed level again. And it was kind of, let's say, the edges were higher than the middle part. And no matter if I did, like, let's say, heat soak and then level the bed, make a bed match, it did not work out for me. So I could only use this small space to have a reliable, easy print. If you make something longer, forget about it, it would kind of get loose or warp. So yeah, that's not the point that you want to have a big printer like this. So I kind of needed to look at a better build plate on this one. I did not really find much about it. I did hear some people talk about they're gonna make something like that, but I ended up buying one from AliExpress. And that's what this section of the video is going to be about. If you really want a lot of more detail about it, I put a link below in this video that just tell in generally about those type of beds, things like that, and how to prep them, things like that. But I will be just showing it more for the K1 Max because I have not really seen other people cover it. What you can do is buy everything separately, but I bought it as one package, so you get the heater element, let's say, the build plate, and the build plate and print bed. So the heating bed will have cables. It should be basically a plug and play thing. In the printer, just take the one from the original loose and plug in the ones from this bed. But as you can see, this one got a plug on it, so that one is just plugging in. This one maybe needs to be stripped or need a fitting on there. I will have to look at that in more detail later in the process. But I will put a link of teaching text video. This shows what type of pliers you can use to crimp on, connectors, things like that. It's really useful in case you need that instruction. But also the video that goes really more in depth about this type of build plates, the cast aluminium build plates, will also tell you how to adhere, let's say in this case got magnets in there, but if you need to adhere it on there with the normal adhesive, let's say, and a magnet sheet. And also to adhere this type of heater element on there. I've heard that with some probing systems it doesn't like to play nice with this type of magnets. So you might need to look into that. Probably it should be fine with the stock K1 Max probing system. Otherwise it would be a little bit of an odd choice to make it like this. As you can see, it got still the bolts in there, so it aligns it. It seems to be sturdy enough. I've seen in all the videos that you see that it could kind of move with a smaller build plate, but this one got quite a lot of magnets on there. So hope it was a nice, good, secure fit. It seems to be like that first glance. If you want to be cheaper, you can also decide to just buy a plate like this and then do all the drilling and things like that yourself. Personally, let's assume that they did the job right at the factory. It saves you a lot of time and hassle, I would say, if you do it just like this. Buy one like this one, and then it's hopefully more of a plug and play thing and an easy upgrade, let's say. You do pay for it because it's specially machined, let's say, for this size printer. But yeah, as you can see, there are some fingerprints and things like that on there, so it's really wise to first clean this one off before you want to glue this one on there with adhesive. But yeah, that will be also explained in the other video that I put in the link. It goes in way more detail than I will do about this type of things. But I do want to point out, because that's something he did, I would do differently than he did. If you have a case that you want to put a magnet on the top, I would personally use water. That is something that I learned from wrapping cars, that business. If you, let's say you put this adhesive strip off and you take and that navels water, like little water drops on this sheet, then there will be a little layer of water on there. You do it also on this plate itself. That way you got time to align it, and also because there's a layer of water on there, you can move it also, but also you can then remove the air bubbles. Doing it strip by strip, and then really make sure that there's no air bubble, then remove a little bit more. That works, and if you do it right and if you are good at that, it's fine. And it also makes it adhere faster because there's no little bits of water vapor, things like that going on. But it works really fast and easy. And in case you have that, you notice that it is a little bit off, you can still correct it by just lifting it up before you lay it down. Then you work yourself from the middle out to the sides, so you work out the water and the air and do it that way. But since this is an electronic pad, I don't want to do that, so I will do it more the way of just stripping out a little bit. What that does do, in my feeling at least, I've never done it with this type of plate, but it is rather thick. You don't want to overbend it because there's probably some wiring inside of there you don't want to crack, so you do need to be careful about that. But so I probably want to remove just the tape cover, let's say, and then just rub it on a little bit, and not want to put my finger underneath it and make it bend, because I think that will give you a lot of issues with this type of sheet that it is. And maybe I'm overreacting. Maybe you can put a little bit of water vapor underneath here, because it's just adhesive strip and I don't think the wires are bare over there, so it should be fine in a way. But still, I think it's safer to don't go there, even though the wires that are exposed are more over here, and even those are got some thing around it. But again, I think I play it safe in that sense and hope that I do it correctly with no air bubbles, so it makes good contact. but I just want to point it out in case you want to place stickers on there, on something, or and again the magnetic stickers. Just use some water. It's so easy to then just rub the air bubbles away from underneath the sticker, and then you don't have any bubbles on the stickers left. It's a very easy way to apply stickers. But anyways, just about this build plate, at least from this seller, it's double-sided. It's, let's say, rough texture. This is the smooth, the A plate from K1 Max. That's a lot smoother. Comparing it with the B plate for the K1 Max, it's, I think, close. So it's close to that one, way closer than the A plate. Because I think this is golden color, it looks a little bit finer texture, but I think it is pretty close to the one of the B plate. Of course, when you want to attach this heating element, do make sure that it is on the correct side of the build plate. So you can also note that by the holes in the sheet, that it aligns with how they are on the build plate. As you can see now, it's not correct. You need to turn it a few times until you got the right side. This looks about right, but I will also compare it with the thing. But you will notice that the big holes should align with those holes in the plate. But it's also smart to check it with the one that's already installed in K1 Max, just to make sure if this is correct, that this plate is exposed. Well, just in the video that I recommend you to watch, I'm just using the rough side of a sponge, kind of clean up the grease. My rubbing alcohol was a little bit on the empty side, so I need to improvise a little bit. But a point that I want to point out, for the quality, let's say, of this plate, you might find, hope it's on camera, yeah, over here, you see some scratches. This is on the bottom side, so it should not be that big of a deal, but you could choose to kind of use some fine sandpaper, kind of smooth it out. And also you can see, even though they wrapped it in foam, this corner got also a little bit of a burr, but lucky for me it's only on the bottom side really, and on the corner should be fine. But there's something to point out, so especially in case you have the top, make sure that it is clean. It is a little bit of light scratch, but I don't think with the build plate on there that you should notice that at all. But just something to keep in mind when buying a build plate like this. It might not be perfect, but yeah, it ships all the way from China. There can a lot of things go wrong. Even, let's say it's perfect from the factory, then you got packaging, you got shipping. A lot of things can happen to aluminium's really soft material. So when you're happy that it is clean and kind of dried off, let's say, then just make sure that you got your plate, heating element ready and in the correct orientation. Something I did check, this is normal, that's the other one as well. And orientation wise, you can kind of align the side of the plate on both sides pretty well to get it in close to center with the holes, let's say. So that helps. Let's hope it's an easy process to install this. Correction, do it already a little bit different. I've put the paper, protective film, kind of halfway off, so I can reach it from over here and just pull it, not by going underneath, but just by pulling on this side. I put it on this side I just kind of place it down, but still enough that I can remove it. Also check that I'm not going off the plate with this side, but just kind of twisting it like this and make sure that I stay on the plate. So hopefully that should be all fine. And now it's a matter, and again I don't want to really bend this heating element too much. I'm not sure how it's made on the inside, and I don't want to introduce a bend or break the wires inside the element. So I want to be careful with that type of stuff. And that's the benefit of it, having the paper right here. I can just pull it without really having to go underneath there. And now just lower it again a bit. Yeah, still it does seem to line up. That's kind of the downside. I cannot really check the holes to really put it much further down. It's maybe can be a little bit better, but at the same time there's not much I can do about it anymore. Of course, be careful with the wire, but there should be logic, in my eyes at least, but you don't want to hit it too hard. Yeah, and hopefully this is good enough. You can see it is a little bit out of center. Here it's pretty okay, but I think it's only a small thing, a washer, let's say, that's sitting there. I think it should work out. So yeah, it was not hard to install. I don't think I got any air bubbles underneath there. It was quite easy to do. Just make sure that you got something to guide yourself before you commit to it by putting it down, but it seems to be quite easy. You can just follow the edge of the plate a little bit. But yeah, first beginning there, make sure that's straight, and then check this one by just lowering it a little bit so you know you're sure that you're not going over it, and then should be quite easy to do. Yeah, again, as I would recommend starting right here, not where the wires are. That's more complicated. Just start with so you have an easy start. So then you have to only focus on the alignment and don't have to worry about the wires. Then later worry about the wires in case you buy a plate that got the wires pre-installed. I think some you have to install it later by yourself, but I'm not totally sure about that. Yeah, now for now it's just a matter of making sure it adheres well. Just let it stay there for a night or so. Sometimes those type of glues kind of need some time to fully bond to the surface. So yeah, then I noticed that I don't have those connectors that I need to do for the build plate to attach it to the main board, let's say, of the, or at least the power supply of the K1 Max. So for now I will stop the video, and it will be a next part that will show you that I actually install the print bed and test it. But at least I will release this section so you can, maybe it helps you out with those artifacts, let's say, in the print. And at least you see how the build plate looks, print bed. In case you're also kinda wondering about getting one yourself. Of course there are different sellers on AliExpress, so it might differ a little bit, but it might as well be from the same factory, different sellers. I'm not sure. I cannot really see a difference in the images, let's say, so that's hard to say. But yeah, see you guys next time, and hope this video helped out a little bit. And again, also make sure to look at the links below. Those people go more in depth about certain steps you need to take, and that will help you out in case you want to do this mod, let's say, build yourself.